Good morning, everybody. This is Eureka John, and you are watching Eureka Street Crypto Hub, broadcasting live on Float TV, float.app, and it is a social media website, kind of like Twitter and Facebook, but a little bit of YouTube mixed in there too. But it's strives to be uncensorable and decentralized. They're working on that decentralization bit, and it's Bitcoin compatible right now. You can use Bitcoin on it, and yeah, like I said, I believe they're working towards decentralization. It's a really new social media platform, and I believe they're still in beta stage. So honestly, I don't know too much about it, but I like it so far, and I'm broadcasting on it, so it seems to be doing pretty well. Anyway, yeah, it is Tuesday, 6:10 in the morning, October 5th, 2021, and I do this every single morning, so welcome. This is my morning show and my morning crypto experience, and this is just me talking about crypto. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not your teacher. I'm not here to give instructions. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm just here to just publicly stumble through my crypto learning process, and that's pretty much it. The good, bad, and the ugly. So yeah, you're here along the ride with me. And yeah, so let's get on with the show here, and let's take a look at the old CoinGecko I got up here. All right, so CoinGecko. This is basically a list of all the cryptocurrencies, or not all of them, but most of the credible ones that are out there, and the price at which they're at. And you can arrange them by market price, and which is how it is arranged by default. And there's others. There's Coin Market Cap, which I believe is the biggest one, the most popular. There's Coin Paprika, Coin Codex, and a few others. And then there's a bunch of paid services too. You can, if you want to get real in deep and technical analysis and all that stuff, and learn the charts and try to predict where the market's going to go and trade based on that and become a day trader. And yeah, it's not really my thing, but some people love that and they live for that. I'm not that focused on price. I'm more focused on concepts and blockchain and Web 3.0 as a whole, as we know it. And a couple episodes back, I did an entire rant on Web 3.0 and what it is. So you may want to go back to episode, what was it, 284 or something like that, and take a gander at it. Yeah, if you really want to know about what Web 3.0 is versus 1.0 and 2.0, I believe we are in Web 3.0, and we are going expanding rapidly into the blockchain and decentralized finance space, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. This is the next internet revolution, and I'm dollar cost averaging through it. Because no matter what people say about crypto's volatility, oh no, it's way too volatile. No, it's on a trajectory upwards. It's just like the people that doubted the internet at the first. So yeah, they could never conceive the whole idea that a business could be solely run on the internet. Now we can't imagine doing business without the internet. So, all right. So Bitcoin's at $47,665.17. Ethereum's at $3,344.11. Cardano's at $2.18. Tether's a stable coin pegged to the dollar. And we'll be talking a little bit about stable coins today. I didn't really have anything planned. I mean, I kind of do. Today's topic is going to be really difficult because I barely understand it, and this is what this show's about. It's about me trying to figure this stuff out in a public way, and it's embarrassing at times. Trust me. I know. I believe me. I know how cringeworthy some of this stuff and some of my shows can be. I'm not lost on that fact. It's just I'm just continuing on doing this and persevering through this, and showing a human side to all this, because a lot of times all we get is just polished and produced, and these amazing instructional videos and stuff like that, and it's not how it is behind the scenes. It's behind the scenes you're sitting there like, ah, damn it, you lose money, you sit there and you can't get something to work right the way the instructional video did, and you cannot figure out why. You're stumbling through all these pages, can't find the search you want. it's a cumbersome process trying to learn, and I'm just doing it publicly. All right, so Binance Coin is 419.86, Solana is 167.51, XRP is $1.03. A little alliteration right there. USDC is another stablecoin pegged to the dollar, and it's quite obvious. USDC, United States dollar stablecoin. A lot of people believe that this will be the CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency, which will be coming in, which will be programmable money that will probably be airdropped to you, and they will tell you how much you'll get and where you can spend it, how fast you need to spend it, and how much you're allowed to save, if any. Yeah, that's I believe that that's what the centralized entities would ideally want you to submit to. Decentralized finance and privacy coins like Monero and Secret Network and stuff like that, and Pirate Chain, and then Bitcoin say otherwise. They say, no, we do not want a centralized entity controlling our finances. We want to maintain a cash-like existence, but digitally. And cash is anonymous, and cash is 100% fungible. And yeah, the only thing more decentralized than cash would be the barter system. I find something that I'm good at, and I create it, and I trade it for something else. And there's no way to control a barter system. But we are a large and advanced society, and the barter system doesn't always work once you expand out beyond your initial tiny little neighborhood community. So we brought in cash, and then now we have evolved to I don't know if it's evolved is the right word, but now we are in a digital society. And as a result, credit card companies and large central banks have been the ones controlling the financial access to that digital layer, all up until Bitcoin. And now Bitcoin has digitized cash. Well, now we are in this constant struggle between centralization and decentralization of that digital cash, because there are projects and greed and ambitions and centralized entities and large power structures wanting to come in and control that decentralized digital currency. And yeah, USDC could possibly be one way. Ethereum, I think I'm bullish on Ethereum. There's a big debate between the Bitcoin maximalists and people who like altcoins. There's a lot of crap out there in the altcoin world, don't get me wrong, but I do think Ethereum and a lot of people behind Ethereum do not want Ethereum to be centralized. And a lot of people say, well, it's run by a tiny little community. Well, when you get into the community, you can see it's not really run by that small of a community. And there is actually a lot of decentralization, I believe, within Ethereum. And Ethereum is the programmable money. When you try to compare it to Bitcoin, it's not the same. It's like apples and oranges. They're just not the same type of entities. Ethereum is basically a blockchain operating system in which you can build projects on top of. It's the platform, the Windows platform for the financial system. Bitcoin has been a store of value, and there has been some evolving in the Bitcoin ecosystem lately, and I think that's great. I would love to see Bitcoin expand out into more programmable type of smart contract existence. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So I can't remember where I was going from that, but a lot of the stable coins that are pegged to the dollar are built on Ethereum. All right. So anyway, let's get into this article. Yeah, like I said, I don't harp on price too much. It's more about like where all this stuff is going, and what type of concepts. Trying to wrap my head around concepts. That's really what my show is about. And yeah. So let's go into this article here, and if I can get my old tweeter pull up. Okay. I don't know who Ryan Watkins is, but I bookmark a lot of tweets. And regardless of how centralized Twitter is, I still learn a lot from Twitter. And all right, so I will follow Ryan Watkins here. He looks like to be a researcher at Masari Crypto. Masari is one of the big research firms. There's one of these articles in here that is posted. I don't have the expensive Masari subscription. It's $624 a month. Yeah, man. I'm just a working schlep, I go to my day job every single day, 8 to 5. It's an hour commute there and back. There, hour back. I listen to podcasts on the way, and yeah, I mean that's my existence. I'm not rich. I just work at a manufacturing company, but I love all this crypto stuff. I mean, it's amazing, and I believe that I am witnessing the fourth industrial revolution. It can be in a decentralized way or it can be completely centralized. That is right now within our grasp and within our choice. We have this tiny little explosive moment right now that we as average people have access to for a short window. What are we going to do with this opportunity? All right, so you make your choice. Okay, so let's get back to this article. Ethereum is an emerging digital economy in the early stages of a multi-decade economic boom. The problem: the dollar-pegged stablecoins dominate Ethereum, and the dollar is controlled by the Federal Reserve. What if we had stablecoins not pegged to fiat currencies at all? What does that even look like? I mean, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this concept because everything we think about, you think about in terms of the dollar. Even foreign countries, I've traveled a fair share, and you go to other countries and they are still, even though they think about things in terms of their own currency, they still think about it a lot of times and how it compares to a dollar. Less so if you're over in Europe, but if you're in a place like Mexico or Costa Rica, Guatemala, I've been all over Central America, so that's the terms that I can think of. A lot of those people do think in terms of the dollar. And you go down to a lot of these broke countries, and they love the DAI stablecoin. They love Bitcoin because it gets them away and out from under the thumb of their national currency. Like I said, I'm not any type of professional on this stuff, but I'm working at it. All right. So what if stablecoins were independent from fiat monetary systems? Let's look at this here, this graphic. Centralized or decentralized, the value of dollar-pegged stablecoins is ultimately controlled by the Fed's monetary policy. Non-pegged stablecoins offer an independent alternative, more in line with the cypherpunk vision of independent crypto money. And cypherpunks worked really hard to help us maintain our privacy. Against Joe Biden back in 1991, he was trying to put clipper chips into everybody's computers as a backdoor for the government. And they fought and fought and fought, and they eventually won. It just goes to show Joe Biden is now our president. And even back in the 90s when he was just a senator, he was trying to get up all in our business and snoop in our privacy and stuff like that and control us. And he's always advocated for that. And now he's our president. How did this happen? Oh, man. I'm not going to open up that rabbit hole of a conversation. But anyway, so what if we had stable coins not pegged to fiat currencies at all? I mean, how does that even, what price would it be? Because you think in terms of a dollar, all stable coins, oh yeah, it's pegged to a dollar. So what would the value of a RAI be, of float stablecoin, of ohm stablecoin? We did talk yesterday about Meter, and Meter is pegged to 10 kilowatts of electricity. Now this Twitter thread here does not talk about Meter at all, and I would beg to appeal to the author of this thread for them to look at meter.io and see the possibility of a stablecoin being pegged to 10 kilowatt hours of electricity. Because apparently since 1960, the price of electricity, when you adjust for inflation, has stayed pretty stable. But he does not talk about that or bring that up here. I don't even know if he knows about it. So, next part in the thread, this is the idea. Okay, so he says, what if we had stablecoins not pegged to fiat currencies at all? And he says, this is the idea at the heart of the latest wave of decentralized stablecoins. These novel projects offer a radical opportunity for Ethereum's monetary system to achieve stability while eliminating dependence on fiat currencies. I would go read this article, but I can't get past the paywall because I don't want to pay $624 a month for a subscription. So I'm going to have to bypass that because I've already used my free 14-day trial period. Sorry. So I had to go, and I'm starting to look through the back door to figure out how I can do this. So I need to independently research Rye, Float, and Ohm. I've started looking at Rye. So it is not surprising that Ethereum has dollarized. Many developing economies dollarize due to monetary instability. So many developing economies dollarize due to monetary instability. Ethereum has not exactly been the most stable, and if you've been paying attention all the last week, Ethereum was as high as 3,100 and dropped down to what, $2,756, and yeah, a lot of people got liquidated. They were doing longs. So the stability dollar-pegged stablecoins has brought Ethereum, has enabled Ethereum to attract more capital into its economy as well as boost its economic growth. Stablecoins have been a key enabler of Ethereum's booming DeFi system. Okay. Yes, stablecoins have been very appealing to people new to crypto because it's a point of reference that you can explain to people, because then you say, oh no, there's no way I'd want to put my money in Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's way too volatile, and it's just gambling. That's all crypto is. It's just gambling. You're just throwing away your money. And that's basically, you hear a lot of that. It's a scam, it's a Ponzi scheme. And it's not really the case. You can put your money one-to-one into a stablecoin and put it in a centralized finance type of savings account, or even Aave or Compound or something like that, Yearn Finance, and you can earn a nice healthy yield off of that, usually between 5 and 8%, or 4 and 8%. And you can't do that in banks. And you're lucky if you get 0.1 or 0.01% interest in a centralized bank nowadays. It's absolutely ridiculous. You have Gary Gensler over there saying, well, if you're 18 years old and you put $5 a week into your savings account, by the time you retire, you'll have $150,000. Here, don't spend it all in one place, little sonny boy. That's sitting there. It's just insulting that Gary Gensler's up there telling people to save $5 a week and they can eventually have $150,000 while he's earning like $40,000 a day on insider trading and all types of stuff like that, and all his monetary know-how. But he doesn't want us to use those financial tools. No, sir, we're too stupid. Yeah, so where was I going with it? Anyway, yeah, $150,000 by the time an 18-year-old now retires anyway, it would probably be worth about $5. So if even the dollar is still in existence at that point. So it's just insulting. Anyway, so yeah, stable coins are a great gateway for the entry into the crypto world for the average person who might not understand crypto. And they're a little scared of Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff like that. So you can put them in a centralized finance type of application like Nexo, Celsius, or BlockFi. Or if you really want to get a little rowdy, you take them over to Aave or Compound or Yearn, and you can lock them up in there and then have them earn a pretty healthy yield on those stable coins because it's pegged to a dollar. The only thing is it's not FDIC insured, But then when have we ever really used our FDIC insurance in the first place? I certainly haven't. Anyway. But it does come with trade-offs, okay? So then here he says Ethereum's daily transaction volume is going parabolic. It now settles $12 billion in transactions daily, 3 billion more than Bitcoin. Imagine not being bullish ETH, so $3 billion more than Bitcoin. And daily transaction settlements, wow. Okay, the flip side of dollarization is that by welcoming stablecoins into its economy, Ethereum has given up its monetary sovereignty and opened itself up to external dependencies that introduce systemic risk. So yeah, especially nowadays with some of the issues we're seeing with the dollar, with this overprinting of it, the entire foundations are shaking beneath us. And yeah, a lot of people are hedging into cryptocurrency because of this, because our foundations are shaking. So, and we do have a bunch of stable coins coming into the crypto world, which is bringing those tremors into the crypto space and not allowing us to completely, fully hedge from the shaking of those foundations. So, yeah. So, in practice, stablecoins are more like currency boards than central banks. I'm not sure I quite understand this, but I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So, you're here with me, working with me here. All our monetary policy decisions are subordinated to maintaining their fixed exchange rates targets with the dollar. So, you have cryptocurrency protocols and stablecoin protocols. Ethereum, has stablecoins built with it, like Pax, USDC, Tether. A lot of these are built on Ethereum, and so these monetary policy decisions are subordinated of say for instance, Ethereum monetary policy decisions are subordinated to maintaining their fixed exchange rates with the dollar. So, like USDC, for instance, its primary objective is to maintain that stability with the dollar. Here's the impossibility, Trinity, and stablecoins. The impossible Trinity is a concept in international economics which states that it is impossible to have all three of the following: a fixed foreign exchange rate, free capital movement, and an independent monetary policy. And within that free capital movement, it's absence of capital controls. So you have all these, the dollar-pegged stablecoins, and they're somewhere in between the fixed exchange rate and full free capital flow. But they're pretty far away from sovereign monetary policy over here because they are just stuck to the dollar. Then you have RAI, Float, and Ohm, these non-pegged stablecoins. RAI seems to have some pretty good free capital flow and some sovereign monetary policy, but it doesn't really have that. I mean, I guess it has a little bit better of fixed exchange rate than Ohm over here down. Just like pure sovereign monetary policy, and doesn't look like it has tons of free capital flow either. So yeah, it's kind of one of these triangle type of situations where if you move towards one, then if you try to it's impossible to lasso them all up together. If you want to increase one or two of these, it pushes the other one out, and makes it more and more impossible to happen. So yeah, it's a relational triangle. Okay, so yeah, all their monetary policy decisions are subordinated to maintaining their fixed exchange rates with the dollar. So furthermore, the dollar peg also introduces regulatory risk that has the potential to shake the foundations of DeFi. Playing with the dollar invites the US government to take action. Yeah, man, if you're going to play your music really loud at the party, you're probably going to attract some attention, some unwanted attention. So whenever you start, dealing with all these stable coins, and Tether has experienced this, just recently went through an audit where they came in and they're like, we want to see that every single bit of Tether that you've issued is fully backed. And they went through and I don't know the details of it, but apparently they did prove that it's fully backed. So yay for them. But I mean, it just shows that the heat in the microscope is on them. And I'm not sure how deeply they went and scoured through all that stuff. But for the time being, it seems to be fully backed. But yeah, so playing with the dollar invites the US government to take action because the government does not want anybody else issuing dollars. And while they're pegged, supposedly to the dollar that is issued by the Federal Reserve, it is outside of their system. So look no further than the Stable Act for an indication on what the worst case scenario could look like. And the Stable Act is something that the government, I don't know the details of it, but it is a really hardcore attempt at regulation of all this. And I could probably do an entire episode about the Stable Act, and I probably need to because I don't fully understand it. All right, so What does an independent Ethereum monetary system look like? In many ways, similar to the dollar under the gold standard with a free banking system. Okay. And then it goes into an article here why private banks and not central banks should issue currencies. Okay. I'll go back to that here in a second. At the core of non-pegged stablecoins is collateral, primarily ETH that ultimately backs their value. Well, how can Ethereum, that's so volatile, be the backing of a stablecoin? Well, I've been reading through a little bit through the RAI government's docs and the white paper, and I'm kind of starting to grasp it. It's kind of like a spring device, in which there's a pull mechanism. The further something gets out from the peg, it jacks up the interest rates in a way that that brings it back to the peg, and I'll get to that. But it makes sense. I'm just having a hard time articulating it, and that's what this show's about here. All right, so RAI, Float, and Ohm each have different mechanisms to stabilize themselves, target prices, and ways of using their collateral, but that's the common thread. Otherwise, they're pretty different. But they're all three attempts at creating a stablecoin that is not pegged to the dollar. So once Ethereum has independent stable currency, a truly independent banking system can emerge on Ethereum. Non-pegged stablecoins can be put to work in DeFi money markets and yield aggregators, which effectively turn those non-pegged stablecoins into banking deposits. So if you take a look here, yeah, so right now we have gold as the reserve asset, supposedly, and then US dollar is the promise to pay for that said gold, and then the promise to pay currency on demand are the banks right here. So this would be replaced with Ether, and then we would have the non-pegged stablecoins, Ohm, RAI, and Float right here, acting as the dollar, and then we have our decentralized finance platforms acting as decentralized banks such as Yearn, Compound, and Aave. So yeah, interesting comparison right there. Obviously, Masari is pretty bullish on Ethereum, and then it refers back to this $624 a month article that I can't read. Okay, so, but anyway, I do want to take a quick look at this, why private banks and not central banks should issue currency. So where did this article go? Okay, here we go. And there's a whole lot of stuff to dive into. I haven't even touched RAI yet. I needed to do an entire episode on RAI. Oh man, okay, here we go. My highlights. The central bank's credibility problem. An important quality dimension of a currency is the reliability of the redemption pledge, namely the issuer's promise to exchange it for another money on demand at a specified rate. In developing countries, domestic currency typically derives its value from its redeemability at a fixed rate for US dollars. To the extent that the central bank actually respects this agreement, a fixed exchange rate constrains money expansion and thus helps to avoid the high inflation to which unanchored regimes in the developing world have often succumbed. The dramatic devaluations in Southeast Asia in 1997 illustrate how unreliable are redemption pledges made by central banks in developing countries. Hold on one second. Then cat barged in here and opened the door. All right, so private commercial banks are more reliable. Privatizing currency means leaving it to commercial banks to issue media of exchange that are claims to the reserve asset that defines the monetary standard and makes the enforcement of these claims a matter of commercial law rather than public policy. It correspondingly decentralizes the responsibility for holding adequate reserves. So private currency issuers face incentives for quality control that do not face government monopoly issuers. All right. The chief weakness of central banks as currency issuers is their inability to bind themselves to the redemption promises. Interesting. Their public monopoly status gives them immunity from the legal and marketplace sanctions that ordinarily prevent commercial banks from reneging on their commitments to honor their debts in full. A central bank enjoys sovereign immunity, in quotes, from claim holder lawsuits, and legal restrictions on the public choice in currency mean that the central bank has little fear of losing customers for bad behavior. They don't care about the customer. The customer is not king at a central bank. At the same time, Central bankers, especially in developing countries, face political pressure to provide the short run benefits that surprise monetary expansion can deliver. Okay. Uh, the customer is not king at the central bank. So think about that with these CBDCs. And in a way, this whole idea about the government trying now to audit anything that is over $600 in people's bank accounts. Um, it's not. I don't think that that's really meant to become surveillance for everybody's bank accounts for over $600. I don't think that that's why that's implemented. I think that's implemented in order to bankrupt the private smaller banks, to where the central bank is the alternative solution and the obvious response to come in and save everybody and save their money. So it's problem, reaction, solution. You have this requirement of smaller banks to sit here and audit everybody's and provide reports of everybody's bank accounts that are over $600, and then it's impossible to do so because there's no infrastructure. The cost to do so, to be able to do that type of documentation and surveillance is beyond the resources of what smaller banks would have, and the smaller banks would fold. They would be fined to death by not being able to keep up with this type of requirement. And so therefore the central banks would have to come in with their CBDC, and then they would come directly to the consumer. And as you can see here, central banks don't care about the customer. Basically, they don't care about your rights. So not like your local community bank does. So all right. Where was I? A central bank enjoys sovereign immunity from claim holder lawsuits and legal restrictions on the public choice, and currency means that the central bank has little fear of losing customers for bad behavior. So if they become the ones in complete control of you and there's no smaller bank intermediary, then they don't care about you, and there's little recourse that you have against the large central bank. So when devaluation is, and they can devalue the money all that they want. So when devaluation is relatively costless, central banks are tempted to engage in expansionary monetary policies that ultimately force devaluation. All right, so it doesn't cost them anything to devalue the currency. So private commercial bankers, by contrast, can be sued by holders of their claims when they fail to redeem those claims at par. Even if a private bank could devalue its liabilities, repay less than 100 cents on the dollar. So even if they could devalue its liabilities with legal impunity, such a devaluation would deal a severe blow to its reputation, and in a competitive environment, its clientele would go elsewhere. So with the central bank just going direct to the people, it gives us no other alternative. We can't go elsewhere. And that's what they want. They want to bankrupt, with this little $600 requirement, all this middle layer in there. And I never thought that I would be like, arguing on behalf of the banks, but here I am. So shareholders would suffer losses in the smaller banks. The shareholders' incentive to avoid devaluation or default compels them to limit the volume of banks' liabilities and makes the bank's redemptions commitments credible. A larger penalty for devaluing means that a private bank will choose to run a lower devaluation risk than will a central bank. Central bank devaluations are consequently more frequent than anonymous commercial banking defaults. So the more power the central bank gets and the CBDCs get closer, the more we'll see our currency be devalued. And what does this have to do with all the stablecoin stuff? So what does an independent Ethereum monetary system look like? In many ways, to the dollar under the gold standard with a free banking system. So private banks holding gold, and not some kind of large overlording central bank going direct to the people. So Ethereum would kind of act as that buffer, so as that safeguard. Oh man, I have so much more to go into, and I'm 37 minutes into this episode. Gee, wow. Okay, I still haven't even touched on RAI. I went through some of the RAI docs. I've been talking about this whole GEB, which is the Gödel-Escher-Bach concept, the eternal golden braid. I want to get into the rye white paper. I want to get into reflexor finance. Man, there's just so much to get into. I'm gonna have to save this. I mean, uh, all these topics are just piling up on top of each other that I need to talk about. Man, 30 minutes is not long enough. I need to start making these episodes like 2 hours long, like Bankless HQ. All right, all right, man. I gotta go. I gotta get to work. But yeah, maybe we can continue this conversation tomorrow. Or, I don't know. I'll talk to you guys later. So Rye is a stable coin that is not pegged to the dollar. And I was like, well, isn't that DAI? DAI's, it's not technically pegged to the dollar because it uses collateral, Ethereum, but it uses all different types of collateral, and it does create. I mean, it does want to stay $1. It doesn't like Rye is started out as 3.14 as its monetary value. I believe right now it's staying right around like 305 or somewhere right around there. And we'll look at that when I go deeper into Rye. I do want to go deeper into Rye. So, oh man, okay. Yeah, this episode was really shaky. Shaking my foundations, but it's also shaky because I don't know enough about it. All right, well, I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and we'll see if we can flesh this concept out a little more. All right, bye. Let me get my outro here. There we go.